Hey, man.
Dude, that energy drink, I feel great.
Good. Have you seen that? Have you seen that new? That new interview with Bert, where he's like, yeah, dude, blood clots, man, they'll get you. Like he's like immediately. He's like you'll get up and then you're done.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, this man is.
Bert thinks about death all the time. He's really afraid, man.
All the time. All right. Anyways, have you ever heard of Dr. Hwang Woo-suk?
No.
That's his name.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Dr. Hwang Woo-suk.
You suck is how you pronounce it.
You suck. Yeah, it's WOOSUK.
Okay.
But I'm like 99% sure it's not Woo. It's you. That's how I heard everybody on the internet pronounce it. So I'm going with that too. Dr. Hwang Woo-suk. We'll just call him Hwang for short because otherwise...
You can just call him Woo-suk.
Woo-suk. Okay, so Woo-suk, let's take it from the top of the story.
It's because you're over enunciating the... It's because you're going, you suck.
You suck.
Just say, you suck.
You suck.
You suck.
Hughes check.
Do you think we could convince the public that we're Siamese twins? No recreational cloning. No. Only medicinal.
Only medicinal cloning. You can eat that whole pizza, and the next day you'll feel fantastic.
18 Don't write that down. Young. Alex wrote that down for the intro. That's not a no context clip. That's cancelable.
Hwang, he was born in South Korea.
Okay.
And he was what you call a smart kid. He had like a 4.0 grade point average, very successful, intelligent kid. Family, not so much.
Okay.
Family was just kind of,
dull, dumb.
Just so stupid.
Simple.
Simple's
the worst word to call somebody. That's so insulting. They were just simple people. Wow. Oof. That hurt my heart to say that.
And he loved animals.
Upper middle class people say that kind of crap, Yeah. They're not upper class. They're upper middle class.
Yeah. And they walk in your house.
Just high enough they go, oh.
They walk in your house and you're like, oh, I love this house. It's so simple.
I love it.
It's so simple. I love how simple. I love that you're doing the minimalist thing here.
Oh, yeah. Like someone got in my car.
I am doing that.
And they're like, you drive this? And I was like, yeah. They're like, I like how humble you are.
I hate how often I think about that.
It's a good car.
Every time I sit in my car, I tell myself, I like how humble you are.
Every time as you're climbing in
Every
from
time
the
you
other
crawl
side.
over the passenger seat to try to get into the driver's seat.
I like crying. I like how humble you
kill
are.
Another cockroach.
I'm so humble.
Oh, man.
I'm so humble. I'm humble. It's humility then.
I'm humbled to be here.
I'm just humbled. I'm just so humble.
So... his parents were normal people.
His parents were average people. He was intelligent.
Genius?
No.
Okay.
Intelligent. Goes on to become a veterinarian.
Okay.
And is vetting around.
Still in Korea?
Yeah. So he's in South Korea vetting around. And this is around the early 90s while his vet career is taking off. And something significant was happening in the mid 90s that he was watching from afar.
Bill Clinton's inauguration.
Close. In mid 1990s, there was a lab in Sweden that Scotland.
I hate you so much.
That had successfully cloned a sheep, and they named it Dolly after Dolly Parton. This is Dolly on a Dolly.
There's a lot that I love about this picture. One is the expression of the face of the guy pushing the sheep on the dolly.
Yeah.
Two, that's a saddleable
sheep.
We could put Dolly on a dolly on a dolly if we really wanted to.
Dolly on a dolly on a dolly. And she could be holding a dolly.
llama. She could be holding
the Dalai of the Dalai Lama.
She could be holding
a Dalai Lama Dolly.
A Dalai Lama Dolly. That's holding a dollar.
Yep. That's what is Dolly. Dolly is an AI model too. So she's talking to Dolly
while holding a dolly that's holding a dollar on a dolly on a dolly. I was want to make sure. I think I got all of them.
In New Dolly. In Bali.
She can go to Dollywood, dude. Like she could be at Dollywood. We could do this just in Tennessee. Just knock it all out.
This is insane.
Or at her Stampede.
Yep.
You know she owns the Stampede?
I do know she owns the Stampede.
Is this sheep in it?
No, the sheep died a long time ago.
Okay. Spoilers.
Sheep don't live that long. This is an early 90s clone sheep.
How long does sheep live?
I think the normal lifespan is about 9 to 10 years.
Is that how long the clone lived?
The clone lived 7 years.
Oh, that's actually okay.
Yeah. Anyways, so this
Dolly on a dolly, I hate you.
This sheep was
Yep.
This sheep was cloned in the early 90s, and Hwang is vetting in South Korea at the time.
Okay.
And the world's losing their mind over this sheep.
They're like, right? Oh my gosh.
They're like, wow, they cloned a sheep. What are they going to clone next? Humans? And that was the plan. And the West panicked, particularly right. George W. Bush panicked.
W didn't like that.
The first speech he made as president.
The first thing he did?
The first speech he
Was
gave.
it part of his inauguration day?
It was inauguration day, and he said, all right.
He said, one fish, two fish. Red fish, blue fish. Yeah. Not red fish, red fish.
Yeah, it's not. We can't have all these fish be the same fish, otherwise they're not different fish. How are we going to have how does capitalism work if everybody's the same? How do I know I'm better than you if you're me?
That's true. Are you quoting a speech or is
that was word for word what he said.
Okay.
He said, I can't. How am I president if everybody's president?
Okay.
That's what he said. He didn't
understand the concept of cloning.
He was already insecure about his presidency.
Okay.
No, he had some serious problems about it because of religious reasons. He felt like it was religiously not ethical.
Oh yeah, what is the soul of a clone?
It's the same soul. It's all the same soul.
That was a little bit of a serious question.
Yeah. There's not a...
Which one does God let in?
I mean, the Bible doesn't talk about it.
I'd be so mad, dude. I'd be so mad if I got cloned.
The clone
and then my clone gets into heaven. Oh.
And so he really wanted to ban it because he felt like it was against God's will.
Is that really what he said, though?
Yeah, actually. Oh, okay. He said that it goes against the
natural order of the world.
I think he said I think the way he said it was the design of our Creator. Is his verbiage.
Okay.
But there was also some other ethical concerns.
I was going to say, what are the other ethical?
There was some other ethical concerns. The two biggest ones being, well, maybe we should say three. The three biggest ones being
population control.
At the time, the only real viable cloning method was a method known as SCNT. And SCNT, long story short, without getting too into the weeds, required 3 mothers. So you had your DNA that you were cloning, and then you got an egg from one mother, you got a cell from another mother, you put the DNA and the egg together in there, and then you put it in a surrogate mother. And so...
They had to be 3 different people?
Yeah. And it was very invasive, and it was a dangerous procedure, and it could result in the inability to have children again for any of those 3 mothers that were used in the process. And the success rate was really low.
Is that how they got the sheep?
Yes. And so the success rate was really low, too. So a lot of people were arguing that on the gamble that this works out to clone someone, it's not worth the potential cost for those 3 people who are stepping in to be a part of the process.
Okay.
The other major concern was there was an issue of one of the main priorities with cloning was not like, oh, it'd be sweet if I had like 70 of me.
What are they trying to do with them?
People weren't wanting to do that. What they wanted to do was they wanted to clone organs. And so if you needed your heart, you could clone your heart
yourself.
and then put in your new heart.
But they couldn't make sense to me. But they can't clone the brain.
They couldn't clone individual organs. They would
have to clone the entire body.
Yeah. And so
then how old is what? Do you have to clone yourself and then you're a baby? Is that how it works?
You put your brain in the baby?
No. I'm saying to clone yourself. So the cloned sheep was born as a baby sheep.
Yeah, it was an infant.
And then it had to grow up.
But it had the same DNA and everything. So it was a clone, but it was an infant.
Yeah, but then so you would have this baby you're carrying around. And they're like,
just like you.
Well, good. I freaking hope he does, and I'm going to take him one day. Which means that you got to let this kid grow up. You got to let this kid get to your size.
All right, time to give me a liver.
That's kind of. I guess I didn't think about it that way, but that's kind of serious. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to let this kid. Do you even let it go to elementary school? Do you even let it learn? You know what I'm saying?
Do you even let it learn?
That's what I'm saying. You can't.
Yeah, you can't let it learn what it lives for.
I can't put a baby's heart inside of me.
My heart is 18
Don't write
years
that
too
down.
young.
Alex wrote that down for the intro. That's not a no context clip. That's cancelable.
It's
I didn't even think about that. You got to let that thing grow up, right? That thing. And then you got to kill it.
Nobody intended. No serious scientist intended to do things that way.
To let it learn.
The intention at this stage in research was we learn how to clone.
Can we figure out how to do it in a test tube?
Yeah, and then we learn to do just the organs.
Got it.
We're not planning on doing the whole person, but for us to get to that point, we have to start cloning 2 whole persons. And then we can start to break it down once we're just able to be successful at that point. And then we can do just, you lost a toenail, we're going to make you a new one.
So here's the thing, right? Yeah. So you got this kid with you all the time.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's my new kidney. And then, it could live, it could give you one kidney and it could live on.
Yeah, it could keep going. And in case you need another.
And its social security number would just be your social security number 0.5?
-2. I don't know, man.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, there's some things there. But no serious scientist. I guess there was some weird black market scientists that probably were thinking that. But no serious scientist was like, yeah, we're going to clone and then just harvest all the organs out of the clone and ditch them somewhere.
Ditch them somewhere? No one's thinking that either.
That was not the plan. The other concern that a lot of people had was a major part of this research in terms of the market it could become was for agriculture, specifically for like cows and pigs and stuff like that.
Then we'd have to eat clone meat.
Yeah, and a lot of people thought that was unethical to be cloning these creatures just to kill them. Which is
we should make cows make love, and we can't take that from them. They deserve love and affection, and then we kill their kids, and that's the natural order of things.
Natural order of it. That the other way is
unlike what we do now. Cloning would be birthing cows for death.
Yeah, and that's not ethical.
And the way I farm, I leave one gate in that field open. They've got a way out. They're just stupid. And for that, they deserve to die.
For that reason, it's their fault.
And I took their heart.
I've got a cow's heart.
I got the heart of a bull.
Yeah, you won't believe how much oxygen pumps through my veins. Every time my heart beats, you can see the blood pulse through my veins. I took the horns too. Aren't they cool?
Yeah. One time I was walking down the road. Somebody's jacket was a little too flowy. And I freaking tackled him too.
Something just took over. I was just like,
and he's got that bull heart in him. Anyway. Got my nose pierced. A lot of stuff going on.
Oh, on top of it, this kind of goes in line with the first point too, but there was almost a black market for eggs, for human eggs. because
okay,
and there was already a precedence for it being illegal for people to sell their eggs because they didn't want that to be a sort of thing where people who were down on their luck or in like a bad situation
could just start selling their DNA
eggs
and all
because
that
that's
stuff.
like it's obviously it's an invasive procedure.
Bone
it
marrow
can hurt
will
you.
take, but keep your eggs.
Okay, so Bob Bowley's.
What?
I didn't tell you about Bob Bowley's. It's this pizza crust.
Crust? Just the crust?
It's just
they
the
don't
crust.
sell the rest of the pizza.
But it's the full,
what is it, like a freaking adjustment thing that just, it's a customizable crust that they just sell you the crust?
It's a customizable.
You just put it on whatever your pizza is. Go get the pizza somewhere else. We only do Bob Bowley's, we do the crust.
Yeah. It's the crust is super sharp, so just slide it under the crust. Like slide it in place of it, it'll push the crust out.
Why didn't you just go to me? You just said we had to stop for a train, and in the middle of this, you go, man, pizza sounds really good. And I was like, yeah, it does. And you go, Bob Bowley's? like you just couldn't think of a way to make up a dumber, more Italian sounding word. No,
this is
Bob Bowley's.
This is a real thing. It's called Bob Bowley's.
Bob Bowley's?
It's called Bob Bowley's.
No, it's not.
It's called Bob Bowley's. Oh, get out of here. Bob Bowley's.
This is a guy named
pizza
Robert
crust.
who is not Italian, whose only flavor of Italia is Fuzz-Oli's.
Can you?
And then he was like, let's do Bob Bowley's. Are you looking it up? Crustomizable was the most annoying thing you've said today.
That was a really good line, and you tried to.
I liked it.
You tried to just go right.
I really didn't want it.
Okay.
We should open a pizza place.
I'm trying to figure out.
That is actually a business idea that we're going to do, though.
I would love to open a pizza restaurant.
Let's do a pizza place.
Yeah. Bob Bowley. I was looking up their calorie count because it's really low. It's really, really low.
Bob Bowley. Calorie count's low?
Yeah.
How? It's just crust. Compared to a pizza, of course. Calories are super low if you get rid of everything else on the pizza.
But the FAQ I found on their website was, "Can you eat it?" And I was like, "What? What do you think this is?" But turns out,
was it dog crust?
Turns out what they were asking was, "Can you eat it raw?"
None of this answered any questions I have.
So no, it's a pizza crust. It's a pizza crust. Here's the deal. It's a full size pizza.
That you're buying the pizza crust.
But yeah, you need to go get your own cheese, your own sauce, your own toppings, whatever you want.
Your own narrow.
But at the end of the day, the crust itself, which is usually the heaviest part, depending on what you're loading in there, is only 160 calories.
For the whole thing,
and
or
only
per slice?
3 grams of fat.
For the whole thing or for one slice?
Let me look. It's for half.
For half the pizza?
Yeah. 160 calories.
Let me see.
Ain't bad at
all.
all.
Pull a picture of this Bob Bowley's. Is this what you told me about this a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I freaking love it. It's so good. It's not heavy. You can eat that whole pizza, and the next day you'll feel fantastic.
I'll tell you what, I could do that with a normal pizza, and that's my real life. Like I feel
you
that way.
don't feel bad after?
No.
You eat the whole thing, you don't feel bad.
Nah.
If I eat a whole pizza, I hate myself for 2 weeks. Again, this tiny.
I'm gonna be honest. This
Hold on, let me get a higher quality
doesn't
image.
look great.
Oh, it's so good though. It really is. It genuinely here's a perfect. This is a perfect image.
This is a perfect image. This is a really good image. This one's like a good image.
Wait till you see this image.
We're not sponsored, by the way. This is Tim just going
Baboli.
for Baboli.
I mean, you should fully try to get sponsored.
Delicious any way you imagine it.
I'll reach out. Here it is outside the package with nothing on it.
It's a tortilla, Tim.
Yeah, we might have to blur that.
It's a tortilla.
Yeah, that is a tortilla.
It's genuinely so good. It's not a tortilla, but it's genuinely delicious. It's one of my favorite homemade pizza crusts, and it's very low cal, low fat, nothing. I mean, it is mostly sugar.
Are you trying to get fit or what?
I'm just trying to like not be such a lard.
Yeah. Yeah, good luck, man.
But
what made you change?
Brent made these one night, and I was like, "Holy crap! Where is this from?"
What made you change?
And
why are you losing weight?
I just feel bad a lot.
Okay.
Anyways, check it out. Baboli.
Hey, I wanted to give you a heads up that our TILLN Patron Hangout is happening on June 29th at 6:30 p.m. By the time that happens, I'll be a married man. So I'm taking time away from my beautiful wife to come hang out with our $20 patron supporters. So maybe be thankful, okay, is what I'm saying. But for real, we're very thankful for our patron supporters because without you, the show doesn't happen. So every month we do a hangout for a $20 tier, and the next one is on June 29th at 6:30. Come hang out with Tim and married me. It's going to be great. Yes, I don't know how we got here.
It's cloned crust. It's not real crust. It's actually cow. So here's the
that's
deal.
right.
So
there's a lot of unethical practice involved in cloning.
Yeah, and so the U.S. They banned it.
And there's a black market for pizza crusts.
Yeah. Don't even get me started on the pizza crust market. Bush all but outlawed it. Like, he didn't outlaw it, but he made it to where you couldn't get federal funding, and if your lab is involved in cloning at all, then your lab
even if you're not using the federal money for cloning,
you lose all your federal funding.
So that's how they do it.
It became this thing where it was impossible to keep working with it. In the States.
That's how the government controls people through their funding that way.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing with schools.
Yeah.
They're just no CRT. The school's but we kind of want to teach it in our history class and stuff. And they're well, you're going to lose all your money. Well, you're not even paying for our history classes. No, we don't care. No money at all.
No money.
That's how they do it.
Yep.
It's such weird.
Yeah. It's
influence.
called politics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we should run for office.
So what happened was
as
everybody
Siamese twins. We could convince. Do you think we could convince the public that we're Siamese twins? What are you doing?
Not just twins.
Siamese twins. We'll wear 5X shirts.
And we just look.
Do you want to have a right hand or a left hand?
We look.
You know what I'm saying?
I am a foot shorter than you.
Yeah, I got the good genes. You know what I'm saying?
And we have completely different genes. You have blonde hair, blue eyes. I have brown everything.
Yeah. Brown everything. Okay. So I think we could do it though.
I don't think anybody would buy it, but I'm willing to try.
You're willing to try. That's what matters. That's what that's step one.
It's being willing. I'm
saying because that's the only way to both get elected. They can't elect one. That would suck. What if one Siamese twins? What if one wants to run for office?
Yeah, and the other doesn't.
And the other wants to do crime or whatever.
That would be really frustrating. If you were a Siamese twin and you were a super chill, super laid back, honestly lazy person.
Yeah.
But your twin was so driven.
Yeah.
And just pursuing this crazy career, working 70 hours a week, and you're just stuck there playing Game Boy with your left hand.
Yeah. And the other one's I want to get ripped. I want to work out. We got to wake up at 5. And
you're
it's on the Peloton and you're just freaking hanging on the thing,
And he's just
you go for a run every morning and you're no, you're good. You're good.
You're good.
And that's the Siamese twin is freaking, he's hauling both of you. And you're gaining weight. It's making it harder for him every morning because you're such a sack of crap, He's eating Baboli's. You're eating freaking Pizza Hut.
Yeah. He's stop putting that into our body.
Don't put that in our bodies, dude.
He's no, it's my body. It's my half.
Oh man. Siamese twins are weird, dude.
Can you imagine their clones though?
4 heads. We've just stumbled onto something. I don't even want to be in this conversation anymore. Holy cow.
They've cloned themselves. They've got 7 other little clones they're walking into Disney World with, just in case I need to live for while I'm here.
What did you say? Are you got your hands out they're holding hands? They're red rovering into Disneyland. What are you talking about?
Red Rover. Send a clone over.
Yeah, they go to the Star Wars area, Clone Wars. You get it. So it's a good time.
I like the storyline where 70,000 years ago, everybody was Siamese twins.
There's a storyline that says this.
And the solo, the not Siamese twin, was the deformation.
Yeah.
But then there was like some guy who was cloning and it was an accident and he actually made a whole bunch of single peoples.
Yeah.
And then there was like this uprising between the two groups, the doubles versus the singles. And then the singles obviously won out and then they made up this story about, I don't know, Adam and Eve or something and a flood. And then they're like, this is our reality now. There was never one of them.
So you're saying there was a Siamese twin genocide
70,000 years
hidden in history. Is your theory?
That's where they get the flood story.
Baba Booey. Oh my gosh. All right, I forget how we got here too. Okay, so
what is happening?
You're just really stupid. That's okay. While you're screwing that back on, there's a lot of issues with this podcast. Like the fact that we had to restart it in the middle. So if you're listening, oh yeah, go ahead. Just keep talking. Yeah, so if you're listening, we had to restart this whole episode because we tried to do this a week ago and there was some weird loud noise happening. We're in an industrial part of town. Hopefully not much longer, but we'll see. And we got trains, we got industrious stuff, Industry Act happening around us. And so we had to call an episode in the middle because it got too loud. And so you are literally the dumbest person I've ever seen in my entire life. Tim's still trying to fix his mic. I'm stalling.
I've got it fixed. We're good to go.
Stalling for time. That's what we should have called this show.
So here's what happened. Bush outlawed cloning, basically. And all the cloners said...
Without outlawing it.
But all the cloners were like, we were having too much fun cloning.
Let's go to where we're allowed to.
Yeah, so they all
Iran. Where are they allowed to clone? I don't know.
A lot of other places.
Oh, really?
And so they just kind of flew over to all these other nations.
What place is like, hey, what do you want them?
Well, South Korea. So South Korea was really...
Really?
Here's the thing. South Korea... at this point in time, was going through an interesting phase in their history. This is now the late 90s.
Okay.
And South Korea had never had like an industry that like they could like hang their hat on yet. Like they had cars, they had IT, but like Japan and China were bigger than them, and both of them, they wanted to cement their spot on the world stage in the 90s. And so they were looking for that kind of technological advancement that could put them ahead and put them on the map and make them a significant world player.
Sure.
They had a handful of these larger companies. They call them chaebols, which I've thought about doing an episode about chaebols for a while. They're kind of, it's like a gray line between like government and business.
Sure.
But it's like the government kind of is like,
the business.
we're these, but we're also
the government.
But we're also not a part of it. But like we're these, but like we're not,
Okay.
And so it's a gray thing. There's a lot of significant chaebols, which reminds me, I've got something I wanted to show you. Something I wanted you to hear. So this is a clip that I found in researching this topic from a creator named Bobby Broccoli.
Thank you.
Which, by the way, his video on this, he does a 2-part series on this. It's very, very well done. It's worth a watch.
We're going to watch the whole thing right now.
We're going to listen to one clip from this because I just really want you to hear it. Ready?
Oh, does he say ancient?
No, he doesn't say ancient. Don't worry.
Okay.
Ready?
Brands like Hyundai, LG, and Samsung.
Yes! I'm not alone!
I'm glad you and Bobby Broccoli can feel validated.
You want to listen to it again?
No.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
I hate that I knew what it was.
You said ancient.
Yeah, but it was the same thing.
Yeah, but I don't know. All I'm saying, I said it right. And so did Bobby Broccoli, my man.
Okay.
So all these scientists went over to all these different nations to start pursuing cloning because they couldn't do it in the U.S. anymore. Korea saw this and they said, "Oh, U.S. is out.
That's our thing.
U.S. is out." And so because U.S. is out, there's a decent chance that some other Western states might also back out of this and be like, "Oh, it's not nice. We don't want to be a part of it." And they said, "Let's do it." So they started looking for a scientist in their nation that they could say, "You're the clone man."
The clone man. The clone wolf.
And so
the clone ranger. Now that's good. That's good right there.
So in rides the clone ranger, Hwang Woo-suk. Which we mentioned him a long time ago and just now brought him back into the
full week ago. I realized what this topic's about. That's what it is. This whole time I've been like, what is this episode about?
What is this? Yeah. Hwang Woo-suk is here. I'll show you a picture of him. He was a veterinarian in Korea.
Right.
Almost threw the wrong picture from the next episode in this. And that would have been very confusing.
Okay.
But this is Hwang Woo-suk. And an American scientist.
Okay.
But Hwang was a veterinarian.
Which one is he?
Hwang was a veterinarian who had worked in like animal
Who's the American
reproductive.
scientist? Is relevant or no?
Yes, he's an American scientist that will get very involved in the story. But he was a veterinarian who was involved in reproductive science for animals. And he practiced in vitro in animals and things like that. So he had a step in that direction, but it was only animals. And so they were like, "Hey, like you want to do this?" And he was like, "Yeah, let's do this." And so he started working on
cloning a human,
cloning animals. He's like, "Can I clone animals?" At this point, animal clones existed.
Yeah.
But Korea had never cloned an animal.
Yeah.
And so like, can we start going down that road to clone an animal and show that we can do this too?
Sure.
And so in the late 90s, him and his lab successfully in 99, they successfully cloned a dairy cow. And they brought in this huge photo op and they made him a national hero. They were like, "This is our clone man."
Was the milk good? Did the dairy cow produce milk?
It's a clone, but don't ask about its milk.
I'm kind of serious.
I mean, yeah, it was fine. It was a normal dairy cow.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
What do you
Well,
think?
I didn't know if you were like, it couldn't produce milk.
It was bad milk.
Or if it was like rotten milk.
It produced, I think of almond milk. That was the kind of milk we were getting.
Well, it wasn't
out of
the creator's design, so I don't know what he threw in there.
It was just Kool-Aid. Guys, you guys got to come check this out. My dad just got this new cow. It's out back.
It's blue.
It's blue.
Blue Kool-Aid.
It's blue. It's got Kool-Aid and it bashes through our walls every once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't even move.
Yeah, it killed all our geese. We thought we weren't sure if it was a clone thing or
we're not sure if it's a Kool-Aid thing or
I don't know.
Clone-Aid.
Ew. So, but I mean, it was a normal dairy cow then.
Yeah, it was a normal.
Okay. People flew in all over to see this dairy cow.
Yes, exactly. And so they did all these photo ops and all this stuff, and then it just kind of started rolling. Like he was
the cow. Started rolling around.
They all did the photo ops. They're like, "What's going on with the cow?" They're like, "Oh, that's a clone
he
thing."
does that.
Clones. He
does that. It's a male dairy cow. I mean, she does that.
And so they started cloning pigs, a lot of pigs, and they got really successful cloning pigs. They start getting these deals like with companies in the area in Korea, and he was named Scientist of the Year in 2004, and became almost this like unnaturally famous individual, like a Steve Jobs. Like he was like the zeitgeist of Korea. Like he was a hero.
Yeah.
Because he was making Korea the face of cloning. But there was a couple things that happened that were a struggle for him. Up until this point in Korea, it was a big deal. They had all this like, oh, he's cloning stuff and successful at cloning stuff. But he couldn't get into any real peer-reviewed scientific journals.
Okay.
And part of that is, as much as like we want to say like journals are it's the academic achievement, there's a political game to get into those journals. And he didn't have the clout outside of Korea to get himself into any of the major journals.
Okay.
And so that's where that guy that you saw a second ago, he was a distinguished scientist. Hold on, let me pull up his name so I get that right. Gerald Schatten. He was a distinguished scientist in Pittsburgh who was studying cloning before
He
Bush.
looks like Zach.
Wow. Isn't
that weird?
Insane.
It's the smile in the eyes and the nose.
Yeah, that is pretty
Looks
gnarly.
like our friend Zach.
That's what he's going to look like when he gets older and gets into cloning for a bit. What if Zach is his clone? That honestly, the age lines up. Because
Zach was born in 2004.
No, Gerald was studying this before Bush. He was working on cloning.
Oh.
And Bush outlawed it.
When Bush Sr. was in office?
No, George W. outlawed it, but he was studying early. Oh, I guess, yeah, okay, when Bush Sr.
Sorry,
was
you
in
don't
office.
know presidents. I forgot. You don't know anything but
I thought you were saying Bush Sr. outlawed it.
No.
Bush W. outlawed it. But yeah, he was back when Bush Sr. he was working on it.
W had to go in and get done what his dad couldn't.
Yeah, he had to finish the game. So Gerald, like, he cared about cloning, but he wasn't allowed to do it anymore because he went to the University of Pittsburgh.
My hobby is outlawed. I just got a clone. He's like Kevin Bacon in Footloose. But instead of dancing, he's just out there replicating. Duplicating.
He's in the woods. He turns on a boombox and he's just sitting there cloning stuff with a lot of attitude. Can you imagine walking into that in the woods?
Yeah, and then two of you walk out. Pretty wild.
What happened? Oh, I saw.
I'll let him explain.
I'm gonna be honest. We don't remember which one was first.
We don't know. There's 100 of you.
We were told not to say anything.
In unison. We were told not to say anything. Pretty wild stuff. So, okay.
So Gerald steps into the picture, and Gerald has a name for himself. And so they co-author a paper.
Hey, I can get you in some magazines.
They co-author a paper talking about these cloned stem cells. That achievement was a major one because they said that they took 242 eggs and they were able, using that, to create a complete stem cell line, which had never been successfully done before.
Sure.
And they did it with just 242 eggs, which was really low amount.
What do you do with the stem cell that's duplicated?
You duplicate it.
Yeah, but like,
you put it in a surrogate, let it grow, and the cell would duplicate.
So
and become a human.
So we're trying to clone humans.
Yeah,
have
that's
we cloned a human?
That's what they're trying to do. I don't think like the full process has ever.
Well, they're not going to reveal it till he's an adult. You don't think there's a 6-year-old out there right now?
There are. Here's what I'll say. I do know that there are some of the black market people who are like, yeah, this is a clone I made. But it's like,
this is a clone I made?
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know if there's any legitimate, successful human clones.
You know a lot about the black market.
That are legitimate, you know?
Yeah, there might be an illegal clone kid out there somewhere.
Maybe, but it's most likely all the people who claim that they did that are lying. And so they made a pretty big claim. They published this article on it, put it in the Science, and it got published.
Put it in the Science. Okay. Hi, I'd like to submit this to Science, please.
That's what the journal's called. It's Science.
Oh, okay.
So they submitted it to Science, and it passed, and it got published. And now they're worldwide cloning experts, and they just went on this tour of clonage. Like he started cloning more cows, more pigs. He first to successfully clone a dog. This is an Afghan hound that he cloned.
Okay.
Which I'm gonna be honest. Now,
could have picked a better looking dog.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you're gonna clone a dog,
I'm not trying to body shame a dog.
Do a cute one.
But that one.
Like that's a kind of dog where like that breed of dog, you see that on the street, you think I should call animal control, even if it's with an owner. Like
it's on a leash, clearly well groomed.
Yeah, you're like,
but I'm still gonna call the pound.
That dog
doesn't belong in public. This dog is offensive to my eyes.
But I mean, even look at him holding it.
He's like,
ah.
He's like, I made a mistake cloning this one. Oh, no, there's regret in his eyes.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. If you like it, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Speaking of future episodes, we have a ton of past episodes. We have a back catalog of well over 100 episodes. So check those out. My current favorite is Nellie Bly. She was a journalist from the early 1900s who totally changed the industry, especially for women in the industry. Super cool story, but also kind of crazy, some of the things that she did. We had a lot of fun in that episode, so check that out. Don't forget to subscribe, but ultimately, just thanks for being here. So he's on Clone 9.
Clone 9. Okay. How many jokes can we make?
And so going on this tour, doing all this stuff. In 2005, he gets republished in Science with a new article, again with his same science partner. They're partners in class.
Partners in
science. This time, an even bigger achievement. They used 185 eggs to create 11 human embryonic stem cells.
Okay.
And so massive successes after massive successes of these clonages.
Sure. Clonages.
And so he's out here. He's on this press tour. He's bashing Bush, by the way. He's bashing him left and right. He's being like, you should have let this guy clone in your country.
He's smack talking.
Yeah, he's got diss tracks. Like he really is though. Like that's not a joke. He really was publicly like calling out Bush for banning it in the States and saying that the scientists there, you got a lot of talented scientists and the field can go a lot further if you guys were to pursue this.
Yeah.
And his end game, I should say, was always medicinal. It wasn't, I'm going to create an army of clones and take over the galaxy. That wasn't his goals.
I mean, let's be clear. Let's be clear about his intentions. When he submits it to Science, he says, "Hey, Science. I'm trying to do this for medical. Give me some. Let it be. It doesn't have to be recreational. No recreational cloning. No, only medicinal.
Only medicinal cloning." What he wanted to do is he wanted to grow organs.
Yeah,
and have it be that was his end goal. That was his route. Like a lot of people who were studying cloning, that's where they wanted to take this.
Are we there though? Can't you spray on skin?
What did you just say?
Can't you spray on skin? Don't look at me like I'm an idiot. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm going to Google spray on skin.
There you go. Yeah, go ahead and do that. So like burn victims, they're able to there you go. Oh, you looked at me like I was so stupid. Read Science. Look up what Science says about it.
It's from Temple Health.
I had a procedure done last week. I got all new skin right now.
Didn't need it at all. Just was curious.
Just kind of wanted it. Extra protection.
Interesting.
Yeah, that could be
so long story short, they are taking a piece of your skin, converting it to a solution, and then like you would a bottle of Febreze, mixing it together with something else, and it's like when you run out of soap. And you put a little bit of water in it,
and you can kind of stretch that soap a little longer. They're doing that with your skin.
That's so weird. Man, science is crazy. I guess, but that's not cloning. That's diluting, I guess.
Okay, sure.
They wanted to clone the whole thing, right?
Sure.
2005, he signs a couple of deals with major farms to produce more animals and clone animals for industry.
For farming?
Yeah, for industries.
And that's not illegal.
Not in Korea.
Oh, sure. In the States, it's still illegal.
Yeah, in other places, in a lot of other places at that point, it was. But they were like, we don't care. We do our own thing.
Yeah.
All this is happening. He's getting worldwide attention. And the journal Nature, science's biggest competitor.
Okay.
Which really is. Science and Nature are the two biggest journals.
Yeah.
But the journal Nature, a journalist there is like...
Except for my high school journal where I would detail all my prayers to God. It's huge. And it's full of garbage. I don't know if you ever gone back and read what you used to like write and consume your thoughts with.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
That's embarrassing.
Humiliating is the word I would use. We should read our high school journals on here.
Can I read a book I wrote in high school?
Oh, please. Please, yes.
I wrote...
We get an audiobook?
I wrote a war novel as a high school kid.
Well, yeah, we have to do that for Patreon.
What are you talking about? You wrote a war novel?
The opening line. The opening line said, in war, you tend not to think much. You just do what you're told and try to stay alive.
Yeah. Heck yeah, dude.
I knew a lot about it.
You, a sheltered kid from Denver, Colorado, were like, I'm going to write on the struggles of the front lines.
I mean, write what you know.
Yeah. I think it was.
What'd you call it?
I think it was called Through the Eyes of Sergeant Winslow.
Oh, nice. Sergeant Winslow. That's your name in Discord now.
I had a different name for him. Okay, I'll change it right now. I had a different name for the main character.
And then halfway through you changed it, but you didn't update it.
I'll never forget. I'll never forget this. I had a name for him. I don't even remember what the first name was for him. And I loved that name. And then I remember a sequel to this video game I love came out, and I realized, oh crap, that's one of the characters in that game. And so I've got to change it.
Yeah. And the storyline of my whole book is just
rude.
War. Through the Eyes of Sergeant Winslow, who, by the way, I took his eyes because he grew up and his whole purpose was to harvest those eyes for myself. So I guess my life is through the eyes of Sergeant Winslow.
It is now. All right, saving that. Sergeant Winslow. Kept the rabbit, though.
Nice.
Okay. So...
Nature.
Where were we? Nature. So a journalist at Nature was watching all this unfold.
I'll read your audiobook, by the way. I'll do it.
I'll read your diary. We'll do each other's audiobooks.
I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Okay. So Nature is like, hold on, science.
Yeah, Nature said, hold on, science. You're getting a little too crazy. The journalist at Nature said, hey, obviously, like he published 2 of these stories in Science, and so that's peer-reviewed, backed up, and all this stuff. But everything else he did, the cows, the dogs, the pigs, there's just a press tour. Like there's no data that's been released. And he was like, "Can we see that?" And they were like, "Oh yeah. Okay." And that was their answer. And they just got the runaround. They got the runaround for a while about the data of all these other cases. So he started digging a little deeper, and he realized, okay, you guys got 246 human eggs, which every single one of those has to be extracted in a single procedure. And so you had to have a lot of donors to pull that off. The rules, and this was Korean law, but also like a lot of law, like it. Let me back up. Let me make this make more sense.
Okay.
So Korea didn't have a law on this when he started, but by the point when that article came out, they came up with a new law that said you cannot sell eggs. You have to donate them.
Sure.
But there was before that like an ethical boundary where it was like you can't buy eggs.
Right.
Even in places it was legal to, it was like you can't do that. You know, it was an ethical thing, an ethical boundary. So it wasn't law, but it was very clearly everyone agreed it was not ethical. And then eventually Korea made it law. They had got a lot of eggs.
Yeah.
And so there were some questions about how did you
them.
find that many donors? Like that's a lot of donors.
Yeah.
And they said, we just had a lot.
Cloned them. We found one donor.
Where did cloners get anything?
We cloned her 245 times. And we took those eggs.
Yeah. You should see the basement.
Jeez. Okay. Where did they find?
Turn the light.
No.
Hello?
You know what? A second ago, I was like, man, I'm so tired because I'm hungry. And I just realized I'm bored because you're so bad at telling this story. So where did they get 246 eggs from?
Long story short. So he started interviewing a bunch of people from the company trying to get like a straight story on it. And a lot of people were giving him the runaround. And then he found this young laboratory assistant. She was a
lot of
college
people
student.
don't know what's going on at the company.
If
you were like, hey, what do you guys do here? they really couldn't tell you is what you're saying.
They knew, but they couldn't tell you, you know?
I got you.
But there was this intern. She was a college student. She was there studying. She got a call from this journalist in Nature. And he said, hey, so I'm writing this article about what happened here. And I'm just curious, that's a lot of eggs. Do you know where they got them? And she said, we donated them. And she was like, he was like, what do you mean we donated them? And she's like, I donated a couple. And I know a lot of the other women in the lab donated them as well.
Okay.
And he was like, oh, interesting. And he was like, did they pay you for that? And she was like, well, some people got paid. And she said, but a lot of us, we did it because we wanted to help. And he was like, that's strange. And he's like, did all the women in the lab do that? And she said, most
of us, but the other ones aren't here anymore. I'm sorry, what was your name again? Oh, no, I gotta go. Okay. Have a heavenly day.
Yeah, that was kind of how the conversation went. And then he was like, well, okay, can I talk to any of the other women? And she said, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to. I don't know if that's like a confidentiality thing. Like if I'm allowed to be like, hey, this other woman
person
did this.
Donated. Yeah.
And he was like, that's fair. He's like, well, how about this? You give them my information. If they're comfortable, can they reach out? And she was like, yeah, I can do that. And so they get off the phone. And 30 minutes later, he gets a call back from this woman. And she's like, hey, I just want to call back.
They strapped me down. They stole my eggs.
She was like, hey, I just wanted to give you a call back and let you know I lied about that. I didn't actually donate any eggs.
No, sorry. I was dumb for saying that.
Yeah, I was mistaken.
Sorry, I was thinking about the Easter party and I brought in some chicken eggs. And I thought, surely what article person? I didn't know the word journalist. What article person is calling me about my Easter eggs? Yeah. I'm really sorry about this.
I thought
confusion.
This was something else.
And if you tell anyone, I'll kill you. I mean, I will. I'll egg your house.
I've got a message I'm supposed to read to you now. I mean, I've got a message I want to read to you.
I got a message. Here we go. I've got a message I got to read to you, and I want you to hear it fully. Okay, I want you to
read it to you. Here's what it says. It says, in war, you tend not to think much. You just try to stay alive.
I do like that we both had the same thought.
She said, oh, sorry. I read the wrong one.
Oh, no. Sorry.
That's my book.
That's the book I'm reading.
Here's the note I'm supposed to read to you. And it said, don't forget, we're cloners. We'll kill you and clone you and no one will know. And he was like, that flowed really well.
There's a note here, but I don't know how to read it because when I was growing up, they never taught me to learn.
Because they harvested my eyes. Nature then puts out this article that basically says, hey,
they're forcing their employees.
The working conditions at this lab are not great. They broadcast that they're like a family, which all of us know is a big red flag.
Yeah, I mean, like most people are talking about toxic workplaces and they're like, yeah, dude, the higher ups are kind of mean to us. Mm-hmm. And then other toxic workplaces are like, yeah, the higher ups harvest our body parts for
Science.
Yeah. And they say it's part of like our like yearly review is like, how much did you donate?
Did you give?
Yeah. And so they put out this article and it was like a pretty like inflammatory, like this is hostile work conditions.
Sure.
Things are not good. Watch out. And Korea as a whole, not just the lab, not just the government, but the populace.
The people.
Blew up because this was their hero. And they were like, you can't come in here as a Westerner, someone from the outside and tear down our like national
they defended
icon.
him.
Yeah. And they raised one pretty decent point. It's a gray area of when these donations happened. There was a law that went into effect, and the lab maintains that these donations happened before the law went into effect. It was clearly unethical, though. And they clearly should not have done that. But what the Korean populace claimed was that you're putting Western ethics onto our Eastern society, and for us, like, we value our company, and so we are comfortable with making that donation because we are a part of that team, and that's the way we operate.
That's interesting that that's their argument back.
Yeah, and so they were like that's a Western. Those are Western ethics you're trying to impose on us, and we're not that way. And so
the person who wrote the article ends up being the bad guy.
It's like I should have just released a novel.
Shoot, dude. Okay.
But that opened up a kind of crack in the armor. Before this, Hwang was kind of untouchable. He was
and
like,
now they're like, it's more scrutiny. They're watching.
Yeah. So there's some people who are looking. He's got a lot of people who came around him to defend him in this, but there was some questions that arose out of it. And so there was a particular media conglomerate in Korea called MBC, not NBC, MB,
sure.
with an M, like as in
Mike.
Man, like that.
Yeah, no, I know. Mike is what pilots say. I know you don't know that, but go ahead.
Yeah. So NBC had a show called Producer's Note.
Okay.
And it was kind of like it's like a Dateline.
Sure.
Is what they had. And so they had like a 4-part series that they put together where they started looking in and being critical of the lab. And it began with working conditions, and they found that there was a lot of really high working expectations, but a lot of these things were not out of the norm in their culture. They had a common phrase in the company that went like this. It went Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Friday, Friday.
Okay.
And so there was no days off. Hwang himself would constantly say.
They also had another phrase.
What?
Hwang's light is my mind.
Hwang would often say, your stem cells don't sleep on the weekend, so you shouldn't either.
Okay.
And so they had very high standards. They worked very, very hard, but that wasn't super out of the norm in Korea at the time.
Right.
And so it was kind of touched on a lot of these things. These episodes started coming out, and people were getting very fired up, coming to the defense of Hwang.
Sure.
To the point where they were holding a candlelight vigil outside NBC studios with
leave him alone
for Hwang. Yeah, because they were like, you can't do that.
Okay.
And so things are coming up. It's looking kind of shady. There are some questions of, hey, where did all these eggs come from? Because there were 2 sets of donations that it was a lot. And now we know some of them came from inside the company, but we know they had to get some more from elsewhere.
Sure.
There was some potential links to black market sales of eggs coming into it. Still not enough. The populace was still on his side. So much so to the point where eventually NBC pulled the show and said, we're not going to release the final episode. And so they pulled back. They said, it's fine, you win, you guys like them, I guess. We're not going to continue the reporting. Well, in the middle of the night in 2005, there was a post that hit a chat board, like an anonymous chat board, that said the show must go on. And
okay,
they took his data and they released the data from his original science article that had images of these stem cells, and they proved using these images that all the images that they used, there was one stem cell in that image, and he had just distorted that image 11 times to make it look like he had cloned 11, but it was the same image. And they had a report from someone in the company who said, yeah, Hwang himself asked me to do that because they didn't have the results he wanted. And so they made him fake the rest of them.
But he did one.
They did one. They successfully did one, but they were shooting for 11. And so he made him fake the rest of them. And so this hits this chat board, and NBC says, okay, let's air the last episode. And
yeah, if it's on the chat boards.
So they said, we'll put it out tonight. So they put that episode out tonight, and then the air shifted. The media, the populace, everyone turned on Hwang because they were like, you lied. And he came out.
You guys trust a chat room?
He came out and he tried to do that. He tried to say it wasn't true, and then that didn't work. A couple days later, he came out and he said, "Okay, hey, give me 6 months. I'll show you I can still do it. I'll replicate the results." He said what happened was there was a mold outbreak in our lab, and so we had 11, but most of them died. So I had to fake the results with just the one that survived. And everyone's like, "Oh, okay,
sure."
And he's like, "But give me 6 months. Give me 6 months, and we'll pull it." That night, he was arrested for fraud, and he ended up getting convicted for 2 years. He got his license to practice human stem cell research revoked.
Just human stem cell research? He can do everything else? Was he a family doctor now? He's a pharmacist?
Well, his articles in Science got pulled. The guy that he partnered with, revoked his partnership with him. Here's what's wild, though. He goes to prison. He gets out of prison, and he starts a business. And this business is open to this day.
Called Baboli.
That's why
he's like, I got to turn my life around. I got to do pizza crust. What's the business called?
I don't know what the business is called, actually. I just realized,
Life Touch Images?
Oh, here it is. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Soam Biotech. So here's what he's doing now. He's been doing this for years now, 10 years after prison. He opened this company where your pet dies and you ship him off, and he clones your pet and gives you your cloned pet back as an infant. And it's $100,000.
Holy cow.
But you get your pet back as a...
Holy cow, indeed.
As an infant. Crazy business model.
How real do we think it is?
Great for them. I watched a video.
For $100,000, listen, Tim. Listen. For $100,000, you give me the ashes of your golden retriever, I'll find you a golden retriever puppy. You know what I'm saying? For $100,000, you what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You can't prove it. What are you gonna do?
I watched a Vice video of someone from Malaysia whose dog passed away, and they were doing it, and so they did the whole journey, whatever. And long story short, what happened in that story is he sent off his dogs to DNA to get his dog back. And when they did this, the first one they thought wasn't going to be viable, so they cloned it again. And then the second one came out and with a genetic defect, so it had different color hair, so they did it again. And what happened was the first one ended up being viable, and the other one just had the different hair color, so it didn't look like the original dog. But then they had the third, and so then they were like, well, we've got all three.
Give them all three.
And so, no joke, they shipped all three back to it.
Which is better?
So much worse. That's terrifying.
Wait, so if we clone my pet, one of my cats, the gray splotches the duck has, will be exactly where they are?
Yeah, because it's a perfect genetic match. So it'll look exactly the same. I don't know if I don't know where your theology lands.
Duck has a little scar on his nose.
Well, scars, no. because that's
I gotta put it there then. So like it's not the same. He's got a little scar on his nose from a little dog attack that happened to him.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get this cat, and I'm gonna have to be like, this is gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you.
That's an extra 50,000.
I gotta attack. That's more traumatizing to me than it's worth.
They'll do that. It's 50,000 more. They'll add the scars.
So I'm 150 grand in.
Yeah, if you want the scars.
I do want the scars.
Yeah, so they'll charge 50 grand to add the cigars back in. Cigars, scars.
Where's your brain? Okay.
Well, I'm just picturing because that part of it, it's like an assembly line, and so it gets down, and there's a fork in the assembly line, and so the cat will go down one fork if it's just
listener. He's talking about a split in the way, not a dinner fork in the assembly line then causes the scar.
There's
to
a
happen.
split, and so down one section it's the ship the cat,
ship it out,
but the other is like he paid for the defects.
Got a
so
scar
it goes down,
a little bit,
and there's a guy with a Polaroid camera. Or a Polaroid photo. He tapes it up on the wall.
This is dark.
He's got a cigar.
This is dark as heck.
He's got a mullet, and he's got a bandana, but like folded and wrapped around his head.
Are you talking about Rambo right now? Are you describing Rambo?
And he's looking, but he's like an artist. He's like an art. He's got like a thick French accent.
I want out of this.
and he cuts.
He's
he cuts
French.
The scars into
Is he in South Korea and he's French?
Yeah, he takes his art very seriously.
Okay,
it's his muse.
And then he ships you the cat.
And then he ships the cat once. Yeah, he carves in.
All right.
Signs the bottom of the foot.
Well, I guess I should have paid the extra 50 grand because you do look a little different.
But yeah, so he frauded.
Your fingers aren't as big.
He frauded his whole thing, but now he's making.
He's probably still frauding that.
Cloning animals. Though people are pretty confident that he was successful with the dog. Even though everything else wasn't quite successful, he was successful with the dog. And I don't know why they're confident. I don't know if he's ever provided data, but he's doing this business now. So,
all right.
If you want to clone your animal, here's how. Go to TILLN.com/clones.
Okay.
Gosh dang it, now I got to make that. All right, well, fiddle off. I got work to do. Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. If you liked it, you can subscribe or watch some more episodes or some clips. But then I need to make this like 20 seconds. My producer said it has to be longer, so I'm just going to keep talking for a little bit. And is this long enough, Connor? Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for being here.